Namgung-won kept laughing, while Yin stood there embarrassed to death. She wants to argue with him. What is so funny about making sure her father gets a present? After he is done laughing, he asked her, if he did that, give her father a present, then what will she do for him? Pardon? Yin asked. Namgung-won answered, you said you're going to make an incense pouch, right? Yes, Yin replied. He demanded, make one for me too. What? Yelped the shocked Yin. Then, no matter what happens, I'll make sure to get your father a present. Do you know how to embroider? Still blushed, Yin answered. I'm not very good at it. She thought, he is quick to make requests. Still, it should be something you made yourself. I'll pick a bone with you later if it isn't. You should do this much in return for robbing me. He reasoned. Ark. Yin thought. But I'm the one being robbed? I do know how to embroider, but it's a real mess. It'll take a very, very, very long time, she said shyly. I'll wait. Namgung answered heartily. Art. Yun getting more flustered. It can't be helped. Then, Mister, even if father refuses your gift, you won't get angry and will still give it to him, right? He replied pridefully, of course, a man never backs down on his word. Then, I'll make it for you. You have to be understanding even if it's clumsy, all right? She promised. Namgung smiled happily, thinking his friend's daughter is so cute. Slowly, he reached his hand about to pat her head, but they were distracted by a question. What's going on? Why is that halfwit here? They both turned around at the same time. A carriage already came to a stop and 3 boys, being escorted by 2 servants, stood in front of their carriage. The twin both stated unison. They said you couldn't take classes because you're sick, but you seemed fine. Are you faking it? Gloom appeared on her face. The twins. To pick a fight in front of Namgung-won. Are they out of their minds? She thought. Or did they recognize him? Instead of focusing on Namgung-won, they saw her holding a box. They asked, what is she holding? Flowers, she replied. Really? Show us? Before Yin could react, one of the twins already walked up to her and demanded, what's going on? Why can't you open it? They aren't flowers, are they? Give it to me. If you can't open it, I'll do it. Yin can't stand these pesky twins. The twins kept on hammering her for the chest box. One said, wait, they're actually flowers? Come on, why would you put that in a chest? I got excited for a second. The other twin asked menacingly, why? They're pretty? His brother snickered, what are you talking about all of a sudden? Are you sick? Give it to me. The twins demanded. I think it would be perfect to give to Riri. She wasn't even able to come to school today because she is sick. You're right. Surely, you won't refuse my request for one, will you? That's right. So right? You don't think it's a waste to give me one, right? The twins bully her, one after another in circles. Yin felt like she was in a whirlpool of nastiness. She can clearly feel their malice. Pyo, Ok, don't be so demanding. Yin must have understood everything already. Myung walked up to them and said to her, Yin, we're cousins, aren't we? Good things should be shared with others. She knew it felt ominous the moment they came across each other. Yin handed a flower and said, it isn't that hard of a request. She thought she can give them 1 flower at most. The twin in right red shoulder sleeve threw the flower on the ground and stepped on it, saying he missed it. The poor flower was damaged. He had the audacity to say, you should have handed it to me properly. What are you doing? Give me another one. Namgung-won glared at the situation, speechless of what he witnessed. Yin handed the second flower and was destroyed the same way. The twins demanded again, come on, give it to me properly. What? I could have dropped it by accident. Got a problem? There is still one left. Give me that at least. They continued to demand the flowers from Yin. Namgung watched the whole situation unfolding in front of him. His fist clenched, wanting to intervene, but was suddenly stopped by the loud closing snap of the chest box. Fine, Yin replied. Here. Take it. You're going to give it to Riri, right? Since it's in the chest, you won't step on it even if you were to drop it. The twins were flaming on their face as now they no longer can destroy the flower. Humph. They shifted the blame to Yin. You should have done that from the start. We wasted 2 flowers because of you. Let's go. Watching the twins leave. Myung patted Yin's shoulder and said, you're so kind, Yin. Ha ha ha. and he left after the twins. Namgung-wan, still angry, complained, "How unbelievable. Why did you stop me?" She smiled at him and answered, "Because you don't want to reveal your identity." Her answer silenced him. Why is it that this child, the precious daughter of his close friend, is so naturally accepting of the situation? Isn't the situation much worse than what he heard? She had a dream. That day, before her father's death, Mr. Namgung-wan, angered by their trivial matters purposely took his time. So, her father ended up dying alone without anyone to help him. Flustered, the grown-up Yian smacked her face, unable to believe. That can't be. Such a thing never happened in the original. It's too early. So, this is a dream. Yian-du can be seen, trying to wake up Yian, who was still deep asleep, dreaming. She did not hear nor feel him waking her. Left with no choice, he pulled the blanket away and at the same time, shouted, "Milady, you have to get up." This startled Yian awake. Huh? Yian-du quickly apologized. "You asked me to wake you up earlier, and it seemed like you were having a nightmare. So, Yian replied, No. Thank you so much for waking me." She was glad it was just a dream. Earlier, in the end, Namgung-wan was unable to rein in his temper and revealed his identity and kicked the guard to infinity. Shocked Yian put on her monocular glasses and gave him a 10 out of 10. But, wait, what was the point of her hiding his identity if he was going to do it anyways? Still, she felt vindicated. Then as soon as she got home, she fell asleep like she had fainted. Sitting on the chair while Yian-du gently wiped her face. She understood why they made her return early from classes. A maidservant came in and told Yian that she will help Yian get dressed. Yian jumped off the chair and declined, and to do that later. She told Yian-du they should go now. As she approached her destination, she can hear the commotions. "You went too far. To hit someone with a bamboo hat. I've never seen such discourtesy in my life." The other person answered, "You should be glad. I only went that far." Looking determined, there is only one reason she said she would get up early. She hurried to the door and can hear the lecture. "Now that you're the next patriarch of your family, you mustn't act like that just because you're angry." And the other person complained, "Are you telling me to walk on eggshells around everyone?" "That isn't what I," explained the other person. "Father," Yian yelled before Kong could finish. He signaled for Namgung to stop. Yian pushed the door open, looking flustered but determined. She wanted to destroy her father's death flag. "Don't be so hard on, Mr. Namgung-wan," she said with full determination. Both her father and Namgung were speechless. "What?" answered her father. Namgung can be seen holding in laughter. Since she does not know the direct cause of her father's death, she can only ruled out everything she suspect. If you had written that he was an important guest in the letter, would the gatekeepers really have ignored Mr. just because of his shabby clothes? Namgung got hit by an invisible strike for being called out shabby. She continued, "That's why we can say this is all your fault, father." At this point, she was getting more worked up. She said, So both of you, please don't fight." And her father got up and gave her a comforting hug. He spoke gently to her. "Why do you look so pale, my dear? Did you have a nightmare or something?" He put his forehead next to her. "I apologize. I showed an ugly side of myself. I've also punished the gatekeepers. So you don't have to worry too much, Yian." She suddenly remembers that her father did punish the gatekeepers. Namgung, sitting with both arms and legs crossed, retorted, "Sure, if you call a 3-month salary cut and 2 weeks of probation a punishment." Since Yian was still present, her father didn't want to argue. "Let's stop talking about it," her father suggested. Yian thought, this right here is why Namgung-wan was so upset. Her father's only weakness. She can't just move on from this topic. It has to be resolved. "Father, isn't it weird? Why did the gatekeepers ignore Mr. Namgung-wan? They would have known they'd be punished once you came back, and it is not like they're fools either." Her intention behind this statement was, were the gatekeepers stupid? Is that why they kicked out someone with father's letter? Her good and kind father. He is of high integrity, which is why he wasn't interested in such veiled enmity. They would definitely try to figure out the identity of father's guest, a well-renowned person in Murim, and try with any means possible to intercept them. Yian at this point can guess that they'll probably ask Mr. One to have dinner, under the pretext of an apology soon, won't they? Her eyes clicked with Namgung-wan. She panicked. Oh no. Our eyes met. Namgung thought her personality would be just as frustrating as her father's. But she's not a fool, is she? He questioned. Yi Kong gave a death glare at Namgung-wan. What did you just call my daughter? He questioned. Namgung-wan panicked. No, wait, that's right. Now that we've met, I'll give you a present. Father-daughter reunions are good and all, but come over here and sit. Yin concluded that Mr. is also weak in verbal fights. The sun is setting and the sunray peeked through the windows. Yin is sleeping, holding a dagger, which she received as a present in the end. Yin's father pulled the blanket up to cover her before going back to talk to Namgung-wan. When I first heard you had a daughter, I laughed. Some fools, envious of your reputation, had spread such malicious nonsense. Namgung-wan continued to explain. When I received your letter and came all the way here. Do you know how many times I questioned what I saw? I came here because of your request for help, but like Yin said, I was scolded. Yi Kong apologized, that it is his fault. Namgung spoke regrettably. She's a clever child. To the point where it's so unfortunate her dantian is shattered. After receiving your letter, I sent out people to find out in my own way. He took out a plaque card and put on the table. The all-knowing doctor, I've discovered his whereabouts. The horn plaque, there was a special significance for those of the Mirim to give someone their horn plaque. It was a promise of absolute faith and honor. A pledge to help you no matter the reason. Namgung stated, if it's this plaque, even the all-knowing doctor has no choice but to treat your daughter. Shocked, Yi Kong asked, this horn plaque, isn't it yours? That's right, Namgung-wan answered. It was his father's plaque. Being the kind and sincere person he is, Yi Kong was about to refuse. But Namgung beat him to it and told him not to even think of refusing. He stated that his father never thought there would come a day for him to use this horn plaque after the all-knowing doctor disappeared. When else could this even be used if the all-knowing doctor were to disappear again? He had already obtained permission from his father. He wasn't going to give this plaque for free anyways. He had a favor to ask regarding his son, Ryu Chung. In another residence, the twins can be heard complaining. Ugh, this Baek Ri-yun, why do I see her so often these days? The chest box was thrown on the bed as the twin continues to complain. Carrying this sort of trash and running amok. It's so annoying. She must really think she's a member of the Baek Ri family. That's what I'm saying. I don't want her to be treated like a member of the family like we are. Myung watched the twins complain back and forth, and with a worry expression, he asked if they know the guard wearing the bamboo hat who is behind Ian. There won't be much of a problem if an escort tells on them, but... One twin replied, he isn't her guard. The other agreed readily. Yeah, he probably isn't. When Ian went to school, she came with one servant. Myung felt relieved and guessed maybe he's just a guest then. The twin answered, haughtily, he's just a nobody. And it seemed like he couldn't even get inside. Myung thought, these punks have no fear of what others will say. Because sorting out the situation becomes his burden to bear. He needs a break. He told the twins they can't do that in front of others from now on. The twin replied lazily without a care, only if she is not in sight. It's her fault to begin with, going out and about. Myung calmed himself down. Maybe he's just worries a lot. Namgung and Yi Kong went to meet the rest of the members. He introduced himself as Namgung, one of the Namgung family. Yi Mook looked flabbergasted, hearing the name Namgung family. Although it's a shame, Namgung Mutual, the former Orthodox faction leader and one of the top 10 masters in the world, didn't come, it's still great that his son, Namgung-wan, comes. Yi Mook apologized for not being able to prepare something grander due to lack of time. He scolded Yi Kong for keeping such a great connection to himself. They would have been completely clueless if they hadn't bribed the gatekeepers in advance. Yi Mook stated that he heard the gatekeepers behaved rudely to him. Namgung-wan frowned upon hearing that. It was the most unpleasant experience for him to have witnessed the bullying, though Yi Mook thought differently. He told Namgung-wan that he dealt with the gatekeepers firmly after finding out the truth. Namgung-wan said he heard the situation from Yi Mook. Yi Mook commented that Namgung-wan probably didn't hear everything because he expelled those gatekeepers, so they can never set food into the Baek Ri residence again. Yi Kong asked, does he mean he fired the gatekeepers? Of course, how do you know they won't commit such discourtesy again? Mook answered. Both Kong and Namgung-wan looked at each other as if they thought the same thing of what Yin said earlier about the gatekeeper are not fools either. Lady Yiren arrived and apologized for her tardiness. She brought the children to greet Namgung as they kept pestering about the news that a master had come. Mook thought, what a perfect time. He instructed the children that he will introduce them to the master. On the far left is my eldest son, Baekri Myung. The girl on the right is Baekri Ri, my daughter. She's quite shy as she hasn't been out much. Baekri Myung greeted Namgung-wan. Mook continues on with the twins, Soa-ok on the left and Baekri Pyo on the right. The twins both greet Namgung-wan. As soon as the introduction ended, angry auras radiated from Namgung like devil incarnate. Unsure of the situation, Yiren asked, she heard Namgung-wan has a son and his name is Ryu Chung, right? She heard there are all sorts of rumors that he's an outstanding prodigy. It would be nice if he met with the children and made friends of the same age. Namgung smirked and replied he is not sure, as Ryu Chung only socialized with children who were at his level. Yiren felt like she'd been struck by lightnings. What's this? Is he blatantly refusing our children, right now? Sweat dripping down her face as she forced a fake smile. Oh, ha ha ha. It appears Ryu Chung is really amazing. You must be proud. Well, that's true. Namgung-wan replied with a care. Yiren pulled her sons together and bragged. My sons are also diligent in their martial arts training. They'll soon attain the third tier of the divine body martial arts. Oi. Namgung-wan glared down at the twins and smirked. He lost it. He totally lost it. It shocked the other adults speechless. Kong screamed inwardly, Namgung-wan. Flustered, Kong asked. You. Mook laughed nervously. They must seem lacking to the eyes of Master Namgung-wan, who has spread his name far and wide, reaching peak enlightenment at just 20 years of age. Still, they are children who are sincere about the sword. It would be great help if a master like yourself gave advice to them. Myung readily agreed with his father's words. He bowed and stated respectably, if Namgung impart any lessons on him, he will keep them in mind. You need to stay by Yan's side, don't you? Namgung-wan asked. What are you talking about? Asked Kong. Namgung told Kong that he has yet moved his chopsticks. If he was worried about Yin, he should go back first. Kong told him that he is trying to exclude Kong. Then, thinking that Kong was worried about Yin, Mook chimed in that he will pay special attention to this meal. So Kong don't have to worry and just stay with Yin. The expression on Kong's face showed that he understood there was something Namgung does not want him to see. He eventually left, but still worried about the situation over there. Namgung sat majestically with arms and legs crossed. I've been through this sort of situation quite a few times now. On a small scale, meals. On a large scale, even gifts of treasures. And what everyone wanted was the same, the powerful Namgung family's background. Baekri's patriarch right-hand man, Jang Sukjiya, called out, Young Patriarch Namgung. Thinking the young patriarch was disrespectful, Namgung called, You're Baekri Ri, right? Let me ask you one question. Did you receive the flowers well? This question stunned the twins and Myung. Pardon? The shy Baekri Ri asked, looking clueless as always. Myung caught on and spoke on Riri's behalf. That's right. The peonies were very pretty, weren't they? Still clueless, but she just went along. What? Oh, yes. Let me ask you one more question. What color were the peonies you received? Myung was seen trembling at this point. The peonies were white, she answered, as all the peonies around the Baekri residence were all white. Namgung-wan started laughing uncontrollably, making everyone flustered. He asked, I'm sure you said you'd bring them to your sick sister, did you not? Mook called, Young Patriarch? Please calm down. Just what is going on all of a sudden? Namgung-wan glared, Calm down? You said you're Baekri Myung, right? I've heard a little bit about you. That is the eldest grandson of the Baekri family. You're a bright and fine child of great character. Myung had a shameful expression on his face because he did not appear that way earlier. Namgung-wan stood up and apologized for being rude to Jang. However, Jang will need to do some proper household management first. If the Baekri family shows this side of themselves, won't it stain the name of the Baekri family's patriarch? After that, he went back to the boys and glared at them. To hold a sword with arms that can't even catch one flower properly, can you even wield a sword? Stay out of my sight from now on, since you all seem like fools. The twins started bawling, while Ian yelled, Isn't he a crazy person? The house was turned upside down in just a single night, while Ian was sleeping. Ian kneeled in front of Ian, crying his eyes out, apologizing for what happened while he stepped away. I am deeply ashamed, miss, for young Master Soak and Bekri Pyo to do such evil thing. With a blank face, Ian thought, Mr. Namgungwan's actions are incredible. She told Ian it's all right. Ian asked if Mr. Namgung and her father fought. Well, Ian glancing away from her answered, rather than a fight, it was a bit of disagreement. Ian touched her temples and said it's the same thing. What's the point of stopping them from fighting over a gift when they're fighting over for something else? While being distracted in thoughts, she saw the chest box on the table. Ian opened the box and saw 3 pink peonies in the box. Ian did father go out last night? What? How did you know? Yes, he said he'd be going to the esteemed Dr. Suk's. Oh. Ian beamed. Where is father right now? She asked. All she wanted was to say thank you to her father, but why? Is he here? She was greeted by Sukjiya greeted and her father. On top of that, for Sukjiya to be led into their residence too. They sat across each other, while Sukjiya was drinking tea elegantly like a pure noble. She thought back to earlier in the meeting. Sukjiya introduced himself as a close friend of Ian, which excited her father too much. The hope, the happiness in his eyes, made it for her unable to deny, plus it wasn't a situation where she could deny being friends at all either. You're not going to take the medicinal decoction? Asked Sukjiya. I'll drink it later, replied Ian, still avoiding eye contact with him as usual. But it'll be harder to drink when it's cold. She frowned that Ian's nagging alone is enough when it comes to drinking medicine. What are you doing here? She asked. He replied, he heard she is going to the Namgung family. She asked if her father said that? Yeah, he replied. He took a sip of tea and stated, to be honest, I think it's a bit too early to travel, given your state, but I'm sure there's a reason why you have to go. Ian thought, he speaks as if he knows the true purpose of the trip. Sukjiya said, the esteemed doctor will come to examine her the day after tomorrow. Ian told Sukjiya to tell the doctor. She said thank you. Okay, he replied. Then added, so, why don't she drink her medicine now? Damn it. Yun thought. I'll drink it. I'm going to drink it, she said, while looking at the medicine in her hand, hesitantly. She downed her medicine and asked, did you come to tell me that the esteemed doctor will be here the day after tomorrow? Truthfully, she still feels awkward with him. It's hard to tell what he's thinking. Even now, it's strange that he personally came. It should be enough to inform her through a servant. I can't do that? Sukjiya answer. I can't come because I miss you? He asked. Stone-face, Ian was lost for words. He continued on like a person being in love. I mean, it's my first time making a friend. Chills ran down Ian's body, thinking what's the deal with this child? Since when did they have such a close relationship? Sukjiya signaled for a servant to come in. The manservant brought in a peony flower pot. He told her, it's a gift for her. Young Master Bekri took and broke 3 peonies, right? He brought her a sapling so that she can see them anytime. Touched, but also sad at the same time, she asked why is Sukjiya being so nice to her? But his kindness is putting her in a tight spot. Wouldn't the twins try to vent their anger on these peonies? And can the servants even take good care of these flowers? On top of that, she's going to be leaving the residence for a while. Something that has to be taken care of for a long time doesn't suit her well. Sukjiya noticed her expression. It was the same way when the bird got hurt. He said she doesn't look so happy about it. Ian quickly denied. She liked it a lot. He said if she liked it then, he has something that she might like. What? You have something else too? He laughed freely that he saw something funny on his way here today. Back in the central hall of the White Protection Hall, the Patriarch was seen sitting with his eyes closed as if he thinking about something. Below, Iran, twins, Iimuk, his children, Myung and Riri was seen kneeling down. Iran exclaimed, Father, Namgung one of the Namgung family, you must have let that rude man be. That Namgung one, you don't know just how rude he is. How dare he ignore and mock my sons, children of the Bekri family who have the blood of our powerful family. How so? The Patriarch asked. He said that Pyo and Ok can't even properly wield swords, and for them to stay out of his sight forever. If that's so, then why do you think Namgungwon was like that to the children? Yiren replied haughtily that she does not know why Namgungwon was like that to them suddenly. Yiren thought, even if they call forth the witnesses, it's just Namgungwon and Bekri Yin are the witnesses. All the gatekeepers are in her mother's pockets anyway. She glanced at Yikong, scowled at him. In terms of numbers, their side has more witnesses. She can just insist that Namgungwon and Bekri Yin align their stories. Plus, even if they feign ignorance to it all, what can Yikong do? So, what's the story about the peonies? Asked the Patriarch. Yiren finally understood why all the children are present except for Yin. There is no doubt that Yun told the Patriarch everything. Angered, she shouted, pointing her finger at Yikong. Father, just what's the fuss with that peony? Asked the gatekeepers. Bekri Yun herself said that she'd give them to the children first. Who does Namgungwon think he is to meddle in the affairs of the Bekri family when the children were just playing around a bit? This is no different from the Namgung family looking down on our Bekri family. Yiren pointed her finger at Yikong and barked loudly, Father, just what is the fuss with the peonies? Asked the gatekeepers. Bekri Yun herself said that she'd give them to the children first. Who does Namgungwon think he is to meddle in with the Bekri affairs when the children were just playing around a bit? This is no different from the Namgung family looking down on our Bekri family. For such a wicked person to be your close friend, Yikong, you're also a... Hold your tongue, roared the Patriarch. Just who were the ones that were thoughtless, shameless, unable to discern right from wrong and displayed barbarism? Asked the gatekeepers. Those fools have already revealed every Tajin Sukryan before I could even ask. Frightened, Yiren could only listen to her father's scolding. He told Yiren he will only give her 3 choices. 1. Send the children out and she can remain at the Bekri residence. 2. She can leave but the children remain at the Bekri residence. 3. They all leave the Bekri residence. Father, Yiren yelled. Patriarch, young Miss Bekri Yin is here, announced Zhang Sukriyang. Tell her to come in, ordered the Patriarch. Those kneeling turned to look at Yin. She entered, bowed and greeted her grandfather, hoping it is not too late to remedy the situation. You are really treating the central hall like your bedroom, coming in and out as you please. To even bring someone who has not received permission yet on top of that. The one who begged to follow was hiding behind the door. The one who tried to stop could only swallow in her frustration and remained as calm as possible. Grandfather asked Yin, what reason is she here for? Yin replied, she has a close friend that she got to know at school, called Sukjiya. He was the one who brought the peony pot as a gift. Yin almost toppled over trying to lift the peony pot. It was much heavier than she thought it would be, which startled grandfather and her father. She fell towards Myung and he instinctively helped stop her from toppling over. Myung suddenly panicked. He unwittingly helped Yin. She should have fallen towards where her father is. Why did she fall towards his way? Aunt Yiren transformed into a demon and roared, Myung, what are you doing right now? Which startled both Myung and Yin, but glancing at grandfather, staring at him, Myung must have felt it, instinctively, that at the current moment, protecting Yin was the right choice. Aunt Yiren was too absorbed in her own hatred, she failed to recognize the situation. She continued her rampant, Bekri Myung, are you out of your mind? Are you taking that little girl's side right now? In front of me? Bekri Yin, Bekri Myung. How are you two? Yin cowered behind Myung, frightened of Aunt Yiren's tantrum. Myung asked Aunt Yiren to please calm down. His father, Mook, strike Aunt Yiren's acupoints, knocking her unconscious. Damn it, it'll take forever to pacify her later, Mook thought. But he can't let her incite his father's anger any further. He pacified his father, apologized, and reasoned that he was afraid Yiren was a bit too worked up, so he struck her. She still has not come to her senses and she still complained the Patriarch. He then instructed Mook to take Yiren back to her residence. Mook felt like he just escaped a catastrophe and complied. This situation caused Yin to understand that grandfather is rather weak against his family. So even if Aunt is kicked, it is obvious that she will be back in 4 to 5 years. Then it must not end with just being kicked out. Grandfather, She called and pleaded. I am fine. Father also went and brought back peonies for me, and I even got this flower pot as well. And Brother Myung was originally close to brothers Pyo and Ok. It would have been harder for him to stop them. So, I do not want grandfather to be too angry, as I can see the flowers again next year. Grandfather took a moment to observe her and then replied, flower bloom and fall, so do not alternate it between happiness and sadness. She let out a silly laugh and replied, oh yes, that is right. Grandfather lectured, can you really laugh right now? Which caused her to close her mouth instantly. He reprimanded, you did not do anything right either. Do you think all is fine and well if you do not argue? How admirable, so admirable. Even bringing a gift to plead for the ones who harassed you. You are no better when it comes to the Baekri family losing face in front of Nam Gungwon. No matter what anyone says, my decision will not change. No, this is better. Pointing his finger at Yikong and Yin, he ordered, you, too, should watch clearly from over there. Yin quickly moved over next to her father. She expected this much, but her goal right now is not grandfather, but if you came to the central hall to talk about such nonsense. Grandfather rubbed his temple and stared at Myung. He called, Baekri Myung, I'm sure you feel something from this? Yes, sire. Myung replied nervously. Yin's goal is Baekri Myung. Brother, are you all right? Looking at the swollen, whipped hands, Myung heard Yin asked. He turned his head to look at her coming in with Sukjiya. Myung asked, how did young Master Suk get into the room? Sukjiya reached to his inner chest pocket and said Jang asked him to deliver the item. It is an ointment. He asked Myung for his palms. Grandfather caned Baekri Myung and grounded him for half a year. Myung groaned when Sukjiya rubbed the ointment on his palms. On the other hand, the twins' punishment was pushed back. Grandfather is leaving it to Yiren's choice since she was already punished with the 3 choices to choose from. Myung uttered unhappily, why was he the only one who got hit in the end? And grounded for half a year on top of that. What is he supposed to say to his friends? Tell them he got into trouble for doing something so cowardly? Although he could not stop the twins from messing with Yun, he did not think so far as to discard something she gave. This is so unfair for him. Brother, Yin's call woke him from his own thoughts. She asked if it hurts a lot. She reached over to wipe the sweat from his face with her handkerchief. The only thing he felt right now was to feel touched by Yin's action. Myung said to Yin, I've only shown you a poor side of myself all this time, haven't I? I'm sorry about that. It's okay, she replied. Compared to Yin, who told him that he was not at fault, what did the twins do? He made up his mind. As cousins, let's get along well from now on, Myung suggested. His statement caused dissatisfaction from the twins. How could you say that? Asked one of the twins discontentedly. He reasoned, because of that lowly thing we are about to be kicked out of the family right now. Calm down, Pyo. Myung replied. He thought, it has not even been long since he got caned, and Pyo already raising his voice. Pyo asked unhappily, what do you mean calm down? You pull yourself together first, brother. Baekri Pyo. What kind of rude behavior is this, in front of an outsider? Pyo answered, it is all because of that lowly thing. Yin and Gayak observed the commotion between the twins and Myung. Again, she had the same expression, it is those eyes again. Gayak suggested for them to go. Just as Gayak and Yin were walking away, Ok, one of the twins pointed his finger at them and questioned, you already knew, didn't you? You knew that Nam Gungwon was there, but purposely did not tell us, right? And that is why you gave over those flowers without a fuss too. Myung thought, what kind of nonsense is? Yin paused and turned around. Yin? Called Gayak. Stone face, with eyes, slightly narrowed, her mouth moved. That is right. Truthfully, I knew that the Namgung Patriarch was there at the time. But so, what? Did I force you guys to step on the peonies? She let out a satisfied smirk, right before the door shut tight, leaving the twins to swear the living life force out of them. Gayak grabbed Yin's hand and asked, how did you do that? Do what? She asked. The soundless transmission. He answered. Feigning ignorance, she replied, I do not know what you're talking about. Can I take your pulse? Sure, she replied lazily. It's weird, he was sure she does not have any chi. But he was sure what she did was, just how? He looked at her and noticed her nose bleeding. Yin, you. Don't tell me you used your innate vitality chi. Innate vitality chi. The natural energy one has from birth. The reason why Yian could do soundless transmission was because it was a sign of her past self-last-ditch effort, her struggle to learn martial arts. One day, she did learn how to use innate vitality as internal chi. Gayak wiped her nose blood and asked, "This is the side effect you got from using sound transmission, right? But innate vitality chi is one's longevity. If you run out of it, then you will die." Yian brushed Gayak's hand off, still pretending to not know what he was saying. She thought, why is he catching on so fast? She blushed for Gayak to leave it be for now. She will wipe it off herself. He said he will not ask her any more questions if she stays still, which Yian automatically remained still and quiet. Gayak said he know what she is thinking. She wanted to drive a wedge between her aunt and uncle through Baekri Myung, right? Yian glared at him like, "You're so eerily smart. I need to stay away from you." Gayak sighed. "Don't look at me like that. We're friends, aren't we? I will keep it a secret." She thought, that is exactly why I cannot trust you, Sukjiya. Gayak asked for a favor from Yian. She looked at him and said okay. He asked, shyly, even if she is at the Namgung family, will she write to him every now and then? A few days later, Yian Du was seen busy preparing. Yian could not wait and see what decision Aunt made, like how she left the residence. But she cannot witness it because they're also busy preparing for the journey to the Namgung family. Her father took her with him to the Namgung family. The all-knowing doctor, with the reputation of the world's greatest doctor, he was very skilled in the treatment of blood and internal injuries. But 10 years ago, he vowed to never get involved with people in Murim and hid himself from the world. Though the destination is the Namgung family, but in actuality, it was probably to stop by the all-knowing doctor to cure her dantian. In her past life, she missed the golden opportunity by a hair's breadth. This time around, she cannot miss this chance. They did not bring a lot of stuff as they need to reduce the number of people who know about the doctor as much as possible. Yian, someone called. She turned to her side and saw Myung coming over. "It's been a while." He greeted. Yian noticed he looked a little pale. She guessed it's true that Aunt and her twins have been pestering Uncle and his family since then. Myung asked if she is going to Senior Namgung Wan. Yes, she answered and elaborated that she will be meeting him halfway there. "I see. I know Uncle will take good care of you, but still, take care of yourself." Yian could have never imagined a send-off like this in the past. She wondered if everything is going as planned. Myung then performed an essay speech. "If you happen to meet Senior Namgung, then I would really appreciate it if you told him that I'm deeply ashamed of myself for showing him an immature side to myself then. Of course, I'm not forcing you to say that, but simply asking you to do so. So, please don't think ill of me and tell him well about me and more. The rest is omitted. I have an ardent one-sided love for Senior Namgung." Yian thought, it would be nice if I could escape from here with Mr. Tu. Myung ended his speech with, "And this is what my father told me to give you." He handed her an ingot. She beamed excitingly and thought, "I take that back. It was worth listening to if it's this." She happily accepted the ingot and replied, "Of course. I'll convey that to him well." This child was a child who knew the taste of capitalism. Yian sat on the carriage, looking out the window, bored. She thought, she cannot just hang around in the carriage. The incense pouch that Mr. One asked for. With full determination, she will finish this before they arrive. After half a day, the unfinished embroider was on the ground farthest away from her. She looked like a person who was already dead but still has to get up and go to work. She started to question the existence of the incense pouch. This useless body of mine. I should have asked Sukjiya for some motion sickness medicine. Her eyes are closing shut. Next thing she saw her father looking down at her. "Father?" She called. "Why are you here?" He put his large palm on her forehead and told her not to worry and just lie down. She felt like she is having a good dream. The carriage ride went on for a few days. Yian finally woke up to an unfamiliar ceiling. She had flashback of her father, staying next to her the entire time, holding her hand, and restoring her stamina by injecting chi into her body. Seeing that she has woken up, her father asked her to have dinner. He will tell them to bring the food to the room. No, she rejected the idea. She wanted to eat downstairs. She has only been holed up in the carriage had she wanted to get some fresh air. Yian's father held her on his arms and took her downstairs, where they were greeted by Shim Ji-pyung, aide of Nam Gung-wan. He asked if Yian was feeling better. She replied cheerfully, yes. She is all fine. The server asked what they would like to eat. Yian's father said he will have something simple. His child is not feeling well, so is it possible to have porridge? Yian frowned. Porridge again? Father, she called. I want to eat dumplings. He replied, it's bad for the stomach. Giving him the innocent beggar eyes, she said she want to eat it. He quickly acquiesced and told the server to bring a side of dumpling. Yian finally smiled happily getting her dumpling. When the server brought the food over, the server asked, seeing your sword, young master, you are Gango martial artist, right? Yian answered pridefully, that's right. Isn't he cool? You'll know who he is if you hear his name. Sever asked, if you are that famous, then you can probably wield a sword, yes? If so, you don't have to worry, and you have a lot in your party too. But still, please be careful. There have been quite a few missing children around here these days. Yian felt glad. She wanted to go downstairs. This case, which also appeared in the original story, was one of the decisive reasons why she wasn't able to get treated by the all-know doctor in the past. Please leave a comment of 3 words or more for the next part. Like, share, and subscribe to help support this channel for more contents and faster release.